So, I saw the last 5 years, or more like the last 5 mediocre years. Yeah, this wasn't it. Okay, guys, so I'll be honest, I've seen the last 5 years. I know this has been highly anticipated, not so much because people are excited to see it, but because they want to know how bad is Nick Jonas. And right off the bat, I'll say this. He is weird. It's weird. It's very weird. I don't know how to structure this, so I'll just go with the Nick Jonas part of it. There are moments of, his acting is not bad. He's not a bad actor, but he can't sing the score. Like, I think people had that assumption going into it, but he really can't sing the score. I mean, there's a few numbers that he's actually quite decent in, and then there's some numbers where you're like, what is going on? His Shiska Goddess is pretty solid. Moving Too Fast, oh, that was bad. The ending of it was like, ooh, and that there are these big celebrities that come in to do the show and they can't sing. And Nick Jonas, he just doesn't have the pipes. He doesn't have the pipes, and honestly, it sounded like it's someone that was like in high school singing, like a high school level quality singing wise. Like it just his voice is I felt like it was gonna break. I was like nervous. It was like watching Christopher Walken try and sing Peter Pan live. Like that is what I would say Nick Jonas sounded like at some points, and it was bad. But the Shamu song, that was, I think, Nick Jonas's best song. That felt like it fit his voice. It felt like he really got into it. It felt like that was when he was at his most comfortable. Besides those, like, the other songs that he was in, like, The Next 10 Minutes, If I Didn't Believe in You, Nobody Needs to Know, like, those last few songs where it's a bunch of solos, and it's kind of the emotional moments towards the end when they're breaking up, were not bad, but Nick just didn't have the pipes. He didn't have the dramaticness to go and get us emotionally invested. There were glimmers, moments of potential, just like Smash. But ultimately, the potential was not reached. And so, yeah, I'd say that Nick Jonas is just, sometimes, okay, he's bad. He's not good. He's not good in the show overall, but he has his moments. But overall, I wouldn't pay $190, $200 to see him in this, because I think you might be disappointed, even if you're a Nick Jonas fan. Because he's trying. He's genuinely trying, and I give him respect for taking on this part, but I have to wonder, whose decision was it to bring in Nick Jonas? Was it Nick Jonas's choice? Was it the producers? Was it Jason Robert Brown? I know his musicals don't do well when they go to Broadway, and you need that stunt casting, but, like, there seriously wasn't anyone else available for this. And yeah, man, Nick Jonas just was pretty mad. It was so weird. Like, I've never seen such a weird performance in my life, because there were moments when I was like, okay, like, this is going somewhere, and, like, the Shamu song, I was like, this is good, and then we got other moments where we were like, no, and the moments where you were just kind of bored, and moments where you were just, like, kind of like, okay, it was such a weird range of emotions that I went through, because it wasn't all bad, it wasn't all good, it was just, like, very gray area-ish. Again, if you've seen him in Les Mis, and you don't like his singing, and you're apprehensive, this isn't going to change your mind. This will not change your mind. This will only reaffirm your thoughts about his performance. If you're a Nick Jonas stan, if you're someone that will see him in anything, then yeah, pay the money. But if you're somebody that is just a fan of the last 5 years and isn't a hater of Nick Jonas, you're going to be disappointed, I think. Adriana Warren, amazing. Great vocals. I mean, obviously she was going to be great for the part. Although, I don't know, I felt like she was a little bit vocally weak at some points. I would say vocally weak, but compared to Sherry Renee Scott, seemed a little less powerful vocally. But she added her own riffs to the songs and all that stuff. And I have to give a shout out to, Stacy, who's Dara Zohar, who's the lighting designer, and then and Whitney White, who's the director. This is her second Broadway show, first musical, and it's such a shame because this production is beautiful. The lighting in this is stunning. Like, the lighting is so beautiful in this show. So naturalistic, so dynamic, so impactful. The scenic design is simple but effective. It's a beautifully directed, choreographed production. It really is. And I think if you had I know you didn't have Nick Jonas in it, and I don't know, you had Jeremy Jordan in it, it would have elevated the material, because this is my first time actually seeing the last 5 years. And while Jason Robert Brown is a great lyricist, I don't think that this is his best show. I personally, I have listened to the original cast recording, and there were a lot of songs that I listened to it, but I was kind of like bored with, or I wasn't super invested, or they all sounded the same. Like, I think the score is kind of a bit, in my opinion, not his best, and I felt like just the way the material goes, I'm not able to get emotionally invested in Jamie and Susan's relationship. Kathy's relationship. But I do think if there was a better performer, not Nick Jonas, I would be more invested. I would have been like, oh yeah, I enjoy the show a lot more. So I'm sure that is a huge component of it. But having said that, I think the material is kind of like, there's like the Shamul song, is not a song that I think is necessary about their relationship. And I don't know. It felt very weird in that they kind of I was having a hard time keeping track of the timelines in every song, and I just felt like I wasn't on Jamie's side or on Kathy's side, because I felt like personally I didn't get enough development on who they were as people or their relationship for me to really get emotionally invested. So I think I also have an issue with the material as a whole and as a show, but I do think having two really captivating performers in the show elevates the material to that next level. So yeah, I mean, I felt like the ending was, I don't know, it was an odd show. It was an odd production. But I mean, in the opening, they have projections with the last 5 years, the curtain, and that was beautiful. And again, it's a beautiful production. It's just, I wish it was with a better actor. Also, the Hudson Theater is a terrible theater to do musicals, because I saw Merrily there, and I think they just have sound issues and lighting issues, because there were moments when, the spotlight would be, on Nick Jonas, and then it would be a little bit late, so he'd be in the dark, and then the sound wasn't loud enough at certain points for me, and I wanted to feel the orchestrations, and I just didn't, They have, sound effects of, the subways that, around us, but they don't use that in the show. So I don't think that's a production issue. I think it's just the Hudson Theater's lack of being accustomed to musicals, because I think a lot of shows the past two shows were plays, and it's very much a play theater. It's not a huge stage by any means. Oh, and there was a technical glitch. It was during Moving Too Fast. It was just I think a prop table went on stage, and so they had to reset it. So that was a cool moment to see kind of the magic of live theater. I've never been in a performance like that before, but that was cool. But ultimately, I would give this production, if Nick Jonas wasn't in it, I'd give it a solid 7 out of 10. But because of Nick Jonas, I'm gonna give this I would give it a 6, but because of the prices that they are charging, although they are charging a little bit relatively lower, I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 10, maybe a 5.2. Yeah, this was, this was, it wasn't good. It wasn't great. It wasn't great. And I can see why Nick Jonas doesn't sell, because I think people see him and they're like, oh, you're just not that good. And so, as much as I think the last 5 years is I'm glad it's getting its due. I'm glad that it's on Broadway, and there are moments of there's moments of potential. This production falls flat. I think it's going to get negative reviews from critics, but you know what? It's going to do good box office. It's only here until June, and then it's going to be done with. But yeah, I think if Nick Jonas wasn't in this production, we'd have a much different conversation. And it's very upsetting, because the Jonathan Larson project, which I loved, it's closing early, and you have shows like The Last 5 Years, which was kind of a Jonathan Larson show at one point, but now have only gone into the level of Broadway because of a star, and how the economic situation of Broadway is so messed up, and that, you know, the surefire bets are not the original musical or a revival with no big star. Like, there has to be a big star to sell a smaller concept show or whatever. And it's only affirming my argument that, again, new musicals and even revivals that have stunt casting like the last 5 years should continue, and they will. But I do think there is something to say that New York City is not welcoming to new, innovative work. And I feel like if more people took that innovative work elsewhere, like Boston or Seattle or Chicago, the hunger for that would grow in New York City. Thus, business would boom when those shows came back. And I also think these original musicals cannot survive in this current economic environment. So let me know your thoughts. Like, sub, and comment. I'll see you in the next video. Peace.